Hi, friends. This is very impromptu, and I hadn't intended to play guitar either. But maybe the music will entice some of you in. Remember the song Majesty? Worship His Majesty. To Yeshua be all glory, honor, and praise. Majesty, King of authority, flow from His throne, honor to His own, His anthem reigns. And so exalt, lift up on high the name of Jesus. Magnify, come glorify Messiah our King. Oh, Majesty, worship His Majesty. Yeshua who died, now glorified, King of all kings. Been singing that little chorus as the world has sung that chorus for decades. It was written by my friend Pastor Jack Hayford, and I'm on tonight at an unusual time for a sad announcement that I just learned that Pastor Jack passed away today at the age of 88. Born in 1934, he had a very sickly childhood, but through a series of wonderful healings, he was established in health and strength, and then he became a pastor. He eventually was the director of his own denomination worldwide, one of the most influential personalities of my experience. I first met Pastor Jack when he co-led our tour of Shalom Jerusalem in 1995. And pardon me for not responding to your greetings here. I just want to get this out. I'm so grateful that you joined me tonight, and I'm not ignoring you. I just want to honor the life of my friend and mentor and father. Just share a couple of quick stories about Pastor Jack. I first met him, as I was saying, he was the teaching figure on our Shalom Jerusalem recording back in 1995. It was around Passover. We had 450 people with us on tour, and I know that his presence was largely responsible for that great response. And I heard him teach at several of the different stops. In fact, I remember two instances in particular. We had after the recording was finished, which took up obviously most of my time, the early part of the tour with rehearsals and trying to put that massive project together. And Pastor Jack got us all together one night in Jerusalem, and he taught, believe it or not, on the Holocaust. I was sitting next to a Jewish believer, and not knowing Pastor Jack, I just knew of his reputation as the pastor, the senior pastor and founder of a very large, influential church on the Way in Van Nuys, California, but I had not met him personally. And I turned to the Jewish friend next to me, Jewish believer, and I said, I've never heard him teach before, but teaching on the Holocaust in Jerusalem, I think you may be witnessing his last teaching of his storied lifetime. Boy, was I wrong. He got a standing ovation. I've never heard anyone teach on the Holocaust and have a standing ovation. Tears, yes. Laying responsibility at the feet of many people, yes. Repenting, yes. But a standing ovation from a Jewish and Christian audience? Never heard it before. Well, later on in that tour, a very dear friend of mine who made Aliyah to Israel and had established a congregation at that point, a very mature believer, came to me after one of those evening events, and he said, Paul, I wasn't really sure why you had this guy on the tour with you, as if it was my decision, which it wasn't. He said, but listening to him speak has just saved my passion to remain in Israel and to continue leading my congregation here. Pastor Jack's life influenced not dozens, not hundreds, not thousands, but millions of people. He was a pastor of pastors, and his dear wife Anna, who passed away, I believe it was 2017. What's that? Five years ago, I think it was March of that year, she had a battle with, I think it was pancreatic cancer. But I've been in their home. I've sat and ate with them at their table. Just an amazing demonstration of the life of God revealed in a husband and wife. Pastor Jack had a great love for Israel and a deep understanding of kingdom and the one new man. In fact, it was before 2010, not sure now what year, but he quite frequently held conferences for pastors and leaders. But this one, he only invited Messianic rabbis and leaders. And for an entire week, probably 6 to 8 hours a day, he poured his life into us and invited us to his home and sat and talked with us. He brought people in to minister to us. I had an opportunity to thank him on one of those occasions to be a father. I told him, you know, Pastor Jack, when we as Jewish believers come to faith in Messiah, we're told, not by all, but quite often, that we need to give up the fathers that we had loved and lived with all of our lives and adopt this new set of church fathers, who many of them, whether you know it or not, said some very anti-Semitic things. And I told him, you've been a father for us when we had no fathers. I remember another time when he had just come from Jerusalem. If you're just joining me now, I'm speaking of Pastor Jack Hayford, who passed on today at the age of 88 to receive his great reward. One time we were ministering together at Gateway Church, and he had just come from Israel, and he told me the story. He said, Paul, what do you think of this? He was invited to speak to the whole assembly of the Knesset, like our Congress, senators and congressmen, the Knesset in Israel, the gathering, all the political leaders. He was invited to speak to the entire assembly, and he basically told them that they could no longer expect his influence, his money, and support if, as a body, they continued to reject the Messianic Jewish brothers of his. And then he told me, with that statement, he left the chamber and walked out and was coming home when some of the Knesset members chased him down and said, Pastor Jack, you know we love you. You can't do this. He said, well, I just did. Because you can't love me and honor me and not honor and love our own brothers and sisters. Those brothers and sisters of yours after the flesh and the brothers and sisters of mine after the Spirit, who embrace Yeshua, the Rabbi of Nazareth, as their Messiah. What an amazing man. I'm fighting back the emotion. In fact, it was just yesterday or the day before I asked someone, what do we know about Pastor Jack? How is he? I'd lost his contacts. And yes, if you know, in the last couple of years, after the passing of his dearly beloved wife, Anna, I believe they were married for some 60 years. He remarried, and his current wife, Valerie, tonight is mourning that loss. I never had the opportunity to meet her. But Pastor Jack, have the opportunity tonight to witness the majesty that you so eloquently wrote about all those years ago. Some 500 choruses and hymns. In fact, I know that at the beginning of his ministry, it was tough for him to gather a crowd. Imagine that. Pastor Jack Hayford couldn't get a crowd. He'd started a church, opened the door, and by his own testimony, it was more like a Bible study for a year. And he said that he went into the chapel one night, laid on the floor, and he cried out to the Lord. He said, "Is this what I'm supposed to do? Nobody seems to be interested in what I have to say. Maybe I made a mistake in opening a church." And he said that the word he got from heaven was, "Teach on nothing else but worship for an entire year. Every week, teach on worship." He's written volumes on worship by now. And he said that from that moment on, his little church began to double week after week, from 10 to 20, and 20 to 40, and 40 to 80, and 80 to 160, you get the idea, until he had established one of the most influential churches in the world. And unlike others, and I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not criticizing, but his integrity, his reputation was unstained, unchallenged his entire life. You never heard about a scandal in finances or doctrine or adultery. Not Pastor Jack. We lost a father today, a patriarch, but not forever. Because one day we'll get to join him before that throne and sing, "Worship His Majesty, unto Jesus be all glory, honor, and praise. Oh, Majesty, King of authority, flow from His throne unto His own, His anthem reigns. So exalt, lift up on high the name of Jesus. Magnify, come glorify Messiah, our King, our King. Oh, Majesty, we worship Your Majesty. Jesus who died, now glorified, King of all kings. Jesus who died, now glorified, King of all kings. Yes, Pastor Jack will miss you, but just for a little while. And then one day all of us who worship that majesty and love that name, the name of Yeshua, the name of Jesus, will gather there together with you. I can still hear that voice. I don't even need to close my eyes and see his face. What a kind and gentle man. So our prayers go out, Valerie, to you and to the 4 children. There's a Jack, not Junior, the 3rd, and 3 others. And all those who knew and loved Pastor Jack Hayford. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. Well, thank you for joining me for these few minutes tonight, or maybe it's tomorrow, wherever you are on the earth. Join me again for Worship Wednesday right here. I'll see if I can find some pictures to highlight his life, and we'll post those Facebook and whatever else, those other platforms that were on Instagram. But for now, the Lord bless you and keep you. Please pray with me for the family. Pastor Jack Hayford has entered into that eternal Shabbat rest, face to face, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Pastor Jack, well done, good and faithful servant.